Good day, students. Today we are going to talk about the cell. This picture is showing on the left side the animal cell, a typical animal cell, and on the right hand side the cell is of a typical plant cell. Before going into the details, first of all we will discuss the cell in general. So, the word cell has been derived from the Greek word cellule, which means a small room. And the first cell was observed by the Robert Hooke in a dead cock slice in 1665, and he described its structure in the book Micrographia. So we can say that the first cell which was observed by Robert Hooke was a dead cell. So now the question arises, who observed the first living cell? So the first living cell was observed by Anton von Leeuwenhoek, and he observed a variety of living cells ranging from bacteria, protozoa and RBCs. Bacteria is a prokaryotic cell, as you all know, and the protozoa and the RBC come in the category of the eukaryotic cell. So first living cell was observed by A.V. Leeuwenhoek. Now we will talk in very brief about some sciences, some branch of sciences which are associated with the study of cell. The first important branch of the science which deals with the cell is the cytology. And what is cytology? The cytology can be defined as the branch of science which deals with the study of the structure and composition of cell. And the second branch of the science is the cell biology. And this branch is mainly concerned with the study of the functional aspects of the cell, means that it deals with the study of the functions of a cell. So we can say in brief that cytology is to study the structural and compositional aspects, whereas cell biology deals with the functional aspects of the cell. Now we will talk about the certain landmark discoveries that are very important for us to know. First is the discovery of the protoplasm. Protoplasm, as you might have heard, is also known as the physical basis of life. And this sentence about protoplasm, that it is the physical basis of life, was given by Huxley in 1863. And what does this mean? It means that protoplasm provides the cell the site for the conversion of chemical energy into the biological energy. You know what is chemical energy? Say for example, we can say that glucose is the chemical energy. The bonds present in the glucose molecule contain the chemical energy, and it can be converted into the biological energy, that is the ATP, adenosine triphosphate, the energy currency of a cell. So protoplasm basically provides the site where this change from chemical energy to biological energy can take place. The protoplasm, regarding its discovery, it was discovered firstly by Felix Dujardin, but he didn't name it as protoplasm, he called it sarcode. The actual name, that is protoplasm, by which we know it, is was given basically by the scientist, that is Purkinje, and he gave it the name protoplasm in 1839. Regarding its composition, the protoplasm is a very complex mixture, and it is consisting of various organic, inorganic substances as well as water. So, chemically it can be called as the mixtures of mixtures. And the organic components include the various amino acids, proteins, carbohydrates, fats, nucleic acids, etc. Regarding its physical state, the protoplasm exists in different consistency under different conditions. That is, it can exist either in solution state or in the gel state. So, physically, the protoplasm can exist in the or gel state, which means that solution state is more fluid and less viscous, or on the other hand, the gel state is very thick and highly viscous. So the protoplasm can exist in any of the two forms depending upon the environmental conditions and the requirement of the cell. Now coming to the cell theory, another landmark in the study of the cell. The cell theory basically tells us about the basic characteristic features of a cell, and this theory was proposed initially by two scientists, M.J. Schleiden and Theodor Schwann. Both these scientists proposed the cell theory independently, individually in different years, but the basic components of this theory were the same. So the theory was combined together and formed a single cell theory, and the basic features or basic components of the cell theory is that or basically it states that all the living organisms are made up of cell. The second component is that the cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Later on, this theory was expanded by another scientist, that is Rudolf Virchow, who added one more sentence statement to this theory that all these cells arise from the pre-existing cell. This sentence or statement of Rudolf Virchow is also known as the omnis cellula e cellula, which means all the cells or cells arise from pre-existing cell. But there is one exception to this cell theory, that is the viruses. Now we will discuss in brief about the cell size. The cells are variable in size, that is, they can be microscopic, which cannot be observed with the naked eye, to the macroscopic, which are visible. And generally speaking, their size can range from zero point 0.2 micrometers to 18 centimeters. You must be very familiar with the very smallest cell or the smallest cell, which is known as the PPLO or the mycoplasma. The smallest cell is the PPLO, that is pneumonia like organisms, and the example of PPLO is the mycoplasma. So mycoplasma is the example of the smallest cell. Now after the smallest, the next is the largest cell. And in that category, the largest animal cell is the ostrich egg. And this ostrich egg is largest animal cell because it is approximately 15 centimeter in diameter with shell and 8 centimeter in diameter without shell. Now coming to the longest cell. The longest animal cell is the neuron, which is the functional and structural unit of the nervous system. And the neuron can measure up to the length of 1 meter. So it can be categorized as the longest animal cell. After the animal cells, the examples of the largest and longest plant cell is firstly the largest plant cell. The largest plant cell, and the example is the acetabularia, which is an algae. Longest plant cell, and in this category the examples are the phloem fibers. Now after the examples of the largest, smallest and the longest cells, the next category is the type of cells, or rather the type of organisms. So living organisms or living beings can be divided into two groups on the basis of the number of cells they contain. And these include the unicellular organisms, which are made up of single cells, amoeba, paramecium, euglena, etc. The next group of the organisms is the multicellular organisms, which are composed of many. Example, the hydra, we human beings, and the plants. In the category of type of cells, and the examples are the bacteria, and the second type of cells are the eukaryotes or eukaryotic cell, which have true nucleus. In the example, amoeba, animal cell, plant cell, etc. Now we will be discussing the cell with reference to a typical animal cell and the plant cell in next lecture.